B.U.F.F. Better understanding of food and fitness. Girl. A woman regarded as independent and strong.
Hey buff dudes, well, in this case, I should say, hey buff girls, this video is for you, and it's dedicated to building those legs and the glutes. And one of the exercises to do it is gonna be the squats. So we're gonna be going over what to do and what not to do when performing this exercise. This exercise is great. It's working hundreds of muscle in the body, so it's not only working the legs, it's gonna be working your core, a little bit of your upper body, and it's gonna be involved in the quads, hamstrings, glutes, calves. It's awesome. So, next up, I'm gonna be introducing you to one of the buff girls. Her name is McKenna, right?
Yes.
Single arm salute. We're ready to get this workout started with some squats.
And get a big ass.
Exactly. Ready to go?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. Okay, so you've done squats before, right?
I have.
So you know kind of the gist of the movement and the form. Yeah, feet slightly wider than shoulder, that's perfect. What you really want to start with is pushing your hips back. The hips are going to be your main power source and the main movement you want to do. So you're flexing the hip extensors and then you're actually pushing the hips back, tightening the hamstrings up. So go ahead and start.
Going now? Okay.
Going right now, yep. So push back, drop the hips down, bending at the knees, keeping the weight through the heels. Yep, balance is going to be an issue and you want to come all the way down.
Wait.
Yep. So we'll do it out all in one. Oh no, she's done.
Okay.
Okay, you ready?
Okay.
Okay, here we go. I know it's a lot of information.
Okay, I feel like
Just like a regular squat. You just sit back, but keep the pressure through the heels, chest up, all the way down.
Okay. Where do the hands go?
So the hands are just there for balance, so they can really go anywhere. A lot of times people throw it in front of them to help balance. So go ahead and keep them right there. And so you want to drop the hips lower than the knees, and that's going to seem hard, but that's what's going to work the glutes as much as possible. Then push back up, extending the hips forward, just like that. So we're going to go once again. So we're going to kind of make, there we go. So what happens is it might feel a little awkward at first, but the more you do it, the more comfortable you are with it. So bring it down and keep the knees right in line with the toes. Right there, good. And then push back up, good. Keeping that back nice and flat, chest up.
So it's almost like you're sitting in a chair and then...
Exactly, yeah. So that's it. So a chair's right back there, sitting down, and then pushing forward. Perfect, just like that. You want to squeeze the glutes, the top position too, to get a little bit more activation. Okay. Let's try it. Ready? Excellent.
That's right.
It's perfect, and it looks good. So usually we hit a little bit higher rep range with this one. We're gonna hit around 15 to even 20, especially because it's body weight. Obviously, as you start adding weight to it and stressing the muscles a little bit more, the rep range is gonna drop just slightly because you're actually pushing more weight and the muscles are gonna fatigue a little bit. But since we're just doing body weight, the reps can be a little bit higher. You're working a little bit more on endurance and a little bit definition and tone in those muscles. And then as you raise the weight later on, then that's when those reps drop down and you create a little bit more density in the muscle. But for now, this is perfect. You're getting the form down and you're making sure those glutes are involved in the whole motion. Down, excellent, see a lot better. And the more you do it, obviously, the more the muscles warm up, the ligaments, the tendons, so that range of motion can actually get a little bit further as well. Perfect, a lot better.
Okay, I have a question.
Excellent, yes.
My question would be, while doing squats, I've seen people turn in, and I've seen people say that turning out your feet is good. Is there really any benefit to that, or is it? What
happens is the positioning of the feet is actually supposed to require, or I guess involve, different points of the muscle. So the toes turned outward, and when you're actually going really wide with the knees, it's gonna be working a little bit more of the inner quads. And if you turn inward, it's gonna be a little bit more working the vastus lateralis compared to the vastus medialis here. So it's just putting more pressure on certain points. We don't really have to worry about that, you know, at this moment. You just kind of want a normal squat. You want your toes in a comfortable position rather than too much in or too much out. You just want to kind of have them where it's most comfortable as possible and have your knees track right in line with your toes and not having them come inward any. So as you come up, you want to actually kind of press your knees outward slightly so that way they're not tracking inward.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
so
and that's going to work on the glute med as well.
Keep it at a neutral stance.
Neutral position, yeah. So that's a little bit more advanced when people start doing different angles of the toes and legs and whatnot. So we don't really have to worry about it at that point. That's going to be a little bit more advanced. Okay. But for now, yeah, just getting the form down, pushing with the legs, getting a nice hip movement, and then you're good to go. Since we have McKenna here today, we're going to ask her a few questions. What are her fears, concerns when she steps in that weight room? So what are some of your fears when you step in the gym?
I would probably say one of my biggest fears going into the gym is just not wanting to get too muscular. I want to be lean, I want to be toned, and before I knew a little bit about going to the gym, I wanted that toned muscle, but I thought lifting weights would get me like huge. So I was getting lean by doing a lot of cardio, but I wasn't gaining any sort of muscle, so I just don't want to get too big.
Right, and when you started lifting weights, you actually started seeing more results as far as getting nice, hard, lean muscles, other than just doing cardio.
Yeah. I would see like a little more lineage definition, I don't know if you will, just more toned and more tight.
Yeah.
Because I was actually lifting something, not just running to do a lot of, like, get my body leaner.
Exactly, and that's why we're doing this video, is because we're going to show those girls that you can actually build the muscle, but not in a big way. B.U.F.F stands for Better Understanding of Food and Fitness, not just big and bulky, right?
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned weight. Why do I have to put weight on top of my squat? Why can't I just stick with body weights like throughout my entire workout?
And that's a good question. One of the most important things to develop a muscle, not only strengthen it, make it more dense, but also develop a little bit of size, it's gonna be all goal orientated. So if, let's say, you want bigger glutes, you're gonna actually have to perform weighted squats and gradually increase the weight as you progress through a program or even just the workout in general. Because what happens is you're causing little microscopic tears in the muscle as you put weight on it. So what happens is the body actually creates scar tissue and it develops that muscle bigger and stronger to prepare it for the next time you work it out. So a lot of times with body weight, it's only gonna work it so much. It's not gonna damage the fibers as much as if you put weighted squats in the program. So when you do weighted squats, it's actually gonna be building the strength, density, and size of the muscle. So if your goal is not to generate more size in the glutes, you can stick with body weight, get a little bit more toned, burn more calories. But if your goal is to build a little bit more size, density, and also definition in there, then you definitely wanna start increasing the weight in the squats.
Okay, so each time that I progress, like let's say I do a squat every other day, should I do squats every other day or if I'm following them?
A big compound movement like squats, and what you do is do a lot of damage to the muscle. So if you're doing weighted squats, what you want to do is take a pretty good break, because a lot of times you get that soreness in there and that's the muscle repairing itself. So when you rest, that equals growth. So you want to make sure you have enough rest, the proper nutrition coming into the body, so that way it repairs that muscle and it actually develops properly rather than just keep on damaging it. And then if you look at a graph, what happens is as you damage the muscle, it actually brings it down because it's in that repairing process, and as it repairs, it comes up a little bit stronger, a little bit bigger. But if you keep working it out, it's actually gonna be showing it decrease in everything, strength, size. So you wanna make sure it gets the proper rest, that way it always constantly increases and goes up the graph rather than down.
So as I'm putting weight on, I start with a lighter amount and then slowly progress to it.
There's always a progression. Never wanna just go full bore right off the bat.
Right.
So you wanna always start a little bit lighter, kind of feel it out, and as you progress through the program, that's when you slowly add weight and implement more weight into the program, stressing muscles, because your confidence is there and not only the strength too. So it's always that slow progression, the body's always adapting.
Okay, and with squats, this might be a female thing, but I always get a little self-conscious when I'm doing squats, so should I have somebody spot me? I don't want to have the bar too heavy to have it fall, or just the motion itself is a little timid to me, so should I have somebody with me, or can I find somebody to watch the barbell?
Right, it's always a good idea to have a spotter, to have someone there, check your form and be there for you. You know, obviously a personal trainer. Some people can't afford a personal trainer or don't have one on staff. So what happens is you can get a workout partner, or if you just can't even get any of those, you just do body weight until you're really confident about your form and technique, and then you slowly add weight. And you can do the barbell, you just do it really light. You can put the spotter bars on there, so if you do feel uncomfortable, there's safety measures there. Or you can use like a Smith machine, which is the machine that's on tracks. And then that way it takes a little bit of the instability out of it, and it also makes it a little bit safer too, because you have that little clip to lock it. So I would rather have someone do just free motion barbell squats, because it's better for the body, involves a lot more muscle. But it is sometimes difficult when you're kind of new to it and a little bit nervous and you don't have anywhere there to spot you. So it's a progression in that way too. So you start off maybe with the Smith machine, you get stronger and more confident, and then you can move on to the barbell squats after that. What you want to do, McKenna, is not lean forward too much, because I know you want to counterbalance the movement, but just throw those hips back as far as you can. Keep the chest up slightly, just so it's not coming down too much, and then dip those hips down, and you're gonna feel a stretch in the adductors too, keeping the knees wide as you press back up and squeeze the glutes. Good. So keeping the knees wide is not only the adductors that are helping, but it's also the glute medius that's keeping that stabilized, so that way it's not tracking inward too much. And that's why you push slightly outward in the knees as you press up. That's good, yep. And of course, as you do it, the range of motion is gonna increase too. Go ahead. So the more you do it, the more blood's kind of coming into that general area, or the specific area, I should say. And that's gonna increase that range of motion too, because everything's warming up. And then you can do stretching in between sets too, to again, get that range of motion down. Make sure that lower back's not too tight, or the hamstrings. Yep, already looking better. The hips are dipping below those knees, excellent. Push it straight through. And remember, the top, what you wanna do is one major thing is squeeze those glutes. So when you push those hips, extend those hips forward, pushing them through here, you wanna squeeze the glutes, and that's gonna get that extra activation in there. And that's what a lot of women, or girls in this case, don't really do. They just kind of go through the motion and just kind of come up and down. You want to try to activate and really think about which muscle you're using. So when you come down, you get the stretch and then push up, squeeze, and right back down. Yeah, because it's all in those hips, glutes, and it's gonna mean the quads, hamstrings as well. Yeah, there we go. Nice boom, squeeze, perfect. So once you start doing this, you can really start feeling that burn, even just with body weight. But just imagine if you had some weight on it, right? And then squeeze, down, squeeze, good. That's it, looking perfect. How's it feel?
Feels all right.
Yeah, that's good. Squeeze, good, down. Awesome. McKenna, professional squatter. There's not a lot of people that like squats, unfortunately. It is very uncomfortable. You're gonna feel tightness, you're gonna feel awkward. It's and that's why you have to constantly do them and have to constantly keep them in the program and make sure you're doing correct form and correct technique. And that way, you're just building a habit out of it. So then that way when you step in the gym, you don't even think about it. You're not thinking about how much you hate it. You're not thinking about this. You're thinking about how good it is for your legs and glutes and what it can do for you too. Because the more you do it, the better you're gonna look. And then that is what makes you fall in love.
Oh, sorry, I don't know.
It's talking, because that looks really uncomfortable. That's gonna be the comment section. It's just gonna be that scene.
Let's.
I do have a question though, so shall I just ask it?
Let's do it.
Okay. What?
Go ahead.
Is that the right spot? When performing a squat, is most of the weight is in my heels, correct? So I could like lift the toes. Is that what I do?
That's correct. So I mean, even sometimes a trick is to take the weight off your toes. That way you put more pressure through the heels.
Is that just so more weight is in my backside? When I go down?
Exactly.
Okay.
So it's distributed correctly through the legs and the glutes. If you push too much through the toes, what's happening is your knees are most likely kind of gliding over your toes and putting a little bit more pressure on that joint,
right,
but also involving more of just the quads. And a lot of people are quad dominant anyway, so the quads are wanting to take over, but in this case, you don't want that. You want more your posterior chain to be involved, which is gonna be your hamstrings and glutes, lower back, and things of that nature. So make sure, this pressure's on your heels, and that's why a lot of times, that's why you wanna throw those hips back really far in the beginning. You're starting with your hips, so that way what happens is the hamstrings start tightening up, and it's not only gonna stabilize the knee joint because they're tightening up, but it's also gonna put more pressure through the heels too, naturally, because you're pushing those hips back, and all of a sudden the heels are gonna be taken over, rather than if you just squat through the legs and to the knees, you're immediately gonna wanna come through your toes. So that's why those hips always start, that's why it's always sitting back.
So that's why you're always focusing on the backward motion.
Right,
just
the
going
hips.
back instead of forward with your chest or with your back.
Exactly,
Okay.
because that'll throw everything off. If your chest dips too much, or if you're kind of just squatting right through the legs, it's always just gonna focus on that anterior chain there rather than the posterior, which is what we're trying to focus on.
Okay, cool. So another question I have about squats is when and where to breathe. I tend to hold my breath when I have a lot of weight placed on any exercise that I do. So I just want to know, I guess, when technically to breathe. So do I never hold my breath at all? Where is the breath placement?
The easiest thing to think is you always want to inhale before you perform the exercise, and as you contract the muscle, you're exhaling your air out. You always want to get that nice momentum as far as just nice, easy breathing. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. Exhaling in the contraction of the exercise. So let's say, obviously in this case, squats, you're gonna inhale as you come down, and then exhale as you complete the exercise, letting your air out, and then repeat the process.
So the exhale is like helping the energy, like I don't know, helping push you up kind of? I don't know.
It's not necessarily helping you push you up, but what happens is if you get too erratic in your breathing, if you're inhaling as you press down, you're gonna lose contraction in the muscle. So sometimes it's easier to inhale, get the oxygen in as you come down through the motion, a slight hold in the breath as you go through the difficult portion, and then exhale at the top position. So you constantly get, it's all kind of like a machine, a finely oiled machine. So it gets that nice habit of working together rather than against each other.
So when I'm in the gym, how many squats do I start out performing? 100, 50? Since I'm just starting out, do I just keep going till I stop? When do I take a break?
Right, and that's a good question too, because I mean, what happens, you have to focus on sets and reps. Reps are as many repetitions as you do in that certain set. So either it be 2 sets, 3 sets, 4 sets, 5 sets, I mean, it could go on, and how many reps are actually doing each set. So in any kind of beginner phase, what you want to do is a higher amount of repetitions. So what you're doing is actually kind of teaching the brain and the muscle activation. So when you get that proper form and technique down, you're going to go high repetitions to make sure you're doing it and doing it correctly, not putting too much weight on the muscle at first and too low in reps, because then that's a possible injury because the muscle will get fatigued in heavier weights. So what you do is start off with around 15 to 20 reps, just really get the form down, really get confidence with it, and do about 3 sets. So the total rep range with the sets is going to be 60 altogether. So 20 reps, first set, 20 reps, second set, 20 reps, third set, just like that. And so as you get more confident, as you get better, the sets will stay the same, but as you put weight on it, the rep range will actually decrease because now it's stressing the muscle more, so it's going to fatigue faster.
Got it. So I'm just getting my body in the habit of doing the squat and the muscle memory of the correct way to do everything.
Absolutely.
And then you add the reps
and then you add the weight from there and decrease the reps, because again, the muscle is going to want to fatigue because it's not used to that heavier weight. And so that's when you progress, you add the weight, you decrease the reps, and then as you progress even farther in advanced motion, you can actually increase the sets as well. So the volume is actually increasing. So you're really stressing those fibers as much as possible. As far as rest time, so between sets, the rest time should be around 60 to 90 seconds just to get the good amount of proper oxygen in afterward, because a lot of times your heart rate will elevate, so you burn a lot of those calories, but at the same time, it's actually going to regenerate a lot of the energy source that makes muscle contraction possible, which is called ATP, or androgen triphosphate. And I know that's a lot and it sounds kind of confusing, but at the same time, it is very important to make sure you're well rested before the next set, especially in a big compound movement like squats. So girls, we just went over some of the technique and also the form in the squat. McKenna, do you have any other questions or concerns after doing this?
I don't think so. No.
Feeling confident? How do you feel?
Pretty good. I feel good. I think it's just going to take me a minute to get in the hang of things and really focus on where my feet are positioned, if I'm breathing the correct way. But having this as a tutorial is really good because I didn't know those things before. So.
Absolutely, and that's a good case too. It's the more you do it, the more confidence you get, and then you're just building that habit. It's that muscle memory as far as you know exactly where to put the feet, you know where to contract the muscles. And so when you step in that squat rack again, you're going to feel confident pushing up heavy weight and not going to be too concerned about getting kind of injury or if you're doing it right. So that's excellent. And the squats, again, are definitely the #1 exercise to do for the legs and the ass. And make sure you get those nice toned legs and a nice big booty. And you feel good when you go out, just like that. Boom. Yeah. So when you step in that gym, girls, make sure you're hitting those squats, you're hitting it right. Make sure you're always breathing properly. You're getting that proper form and technique. Thank you, McKenna, for helping us out here at the Buff Girls.
Being a buff girl.
That's right. It ain't easy, but it looks damn good. Single arm salute.
Oh yeah.
Boom.